Hi, everybody. Kate Grace, physical therapist, orthopedic physician assistant. Welcome to another podcast of Move Without Limits. And, one of the things that we really focus on as physical therapists is the diagnosis, the manual therapy treatment, and then once we get you back in alignment, your flexibility is good, your muscles are stronger, etc., then we go through specific exercise programs to raise the level of your health. Some people do a little exercise and maybe infrequent exercise. And I've had so many patients over the years tell me, "Kate, I go to the gym 6 days a week, but nothing changes." Well, hello, I looked at your program. You do the same darn thing 6 days a week. So no, your body's not going to change. So you have to stress it, strain it, change it up. That's what we do in our classes. So I've been researching and looking at a lot of experts who talk a lot about exercise, who it's not really their primary interest or field, but they talk about how important it is. So I thought maybe we should listen to some of these experts together and then talk about the importance of what they have to say. So I think it's Peter Attia first. Let's hear what he has to say about exercise. He was on 60 Minutes and did a great interview there.
It used to be thought that, especially if you're an older woman, that, maybe it's too late. But there have actually been some studies now in older women that repeated strength training and nutritional changes, you can actually rebuild bone mass.
One of the studies, I don't know if it's the one you're referring to, is called the Lift More study that was done in Australia. So it was the Lift More and the Lift More 2 study, which were fantastic studies. And that's exactly what they found. They took women who were over the age of 65, who had low bone density and, more importantly, had not done any serious strength training. And they were randomized into two groups, one that did kind of the usual type of exercise, so they were still doing something, and then the other group that was provided with very clear and explicit instructions around how to lift heavy weights. And the results of this study actually surprised many people, certainly myself included, which was that the trabecular bone in the women who were lifting weights actually increased in size. It wasn't just that they slowed the rate of decline, it was that they actually put on stronger bones.
I mean, to me too, the message is it's never too late to start.
100%.
So how about that? Now everybody thinks they can't get stronger as the years go by. They did 65 years and older. Not only did they get stronger, they increased their bone mass. So if you're worried about brittle bones, someone who's osteopenic or has osteopenia, the early signs, get them to do weight training, resistant training, and send them to this study, the Lift More study, and show them that not only can they increase their muscle strength, but also increase their bone density. And I think a lot of people as they age get a little worried about that they're going to fall, they're going to break something. Well, if you have hard bone, it's hard to break. It is really hard to break. I have to practically jump off a building, a 4-story building, and break something if you have really strong bone. So I appreciate him talking about that, and know that you can gain muscle strength in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, and your 80s is what I have learned from a lot of these people. The next one, I think, is Dr. Lyon, and she talks about the benefits of the musculoskeletal system beyond what it means to gain muscle strength.
To increase your survivability against nearly any and every disease. Your chances of survival will be higher the more healthy skeletal muscle mass you have. You cannot say that about anything else in the human body. That is how profoundly important skeletal muscle is. It also is an endocrine organ. It secretes myokines based on intensity and duration of contraction of your skeletal muscle. It will release peptide hormones that will travel throughout your body, create a connection between your brain, your bone, your liver. It will help with neurogenesis. That is extraordinary. All by simply contracting your skeletal muscle.
How about that? You want to increase your ability to survive a disease by strengthening your muscles? Come on. I mean, do you need more than that? I can talk about the musculoskeletal benefits all day long about getting stronger. I say this all the time. Your joints are only as good as the muscles that support them. But what about the metabolic benefits? Oh my gosh. Helping you through internal organ diseases, your brain health. Okay, all of you guys who want to take peptides, it's a normal peptide release normal peptide hormones when you increase your skeletal muscle. There's another benefit. And I really like what she didn't say this in this one, but I've listened to many of her interviews. One of the things she says is, in our society, we're not overweight or obese, we're under muscled. So if you have more muscle, you're going to burn fat 3 times as fast as someone who doesn't have muscle. And then all the metabolic and all the brain benefits and all the joint benefits. So there's a whole nother reason. Release peptides and fight against disease. And now let's hear from one of my absolute favorites, Mel Robbins, who helps people with their mental and emotional life and enhancing the quality of life, but she also talks a lot about exercise.
18 medical experts that have appeared on this podcast has said the number one thing you have to do for better health, for longevity, for happiness, it's exercise. That's the number one habit. And let me be clear about something. I'm not talking about losing weight. This isn't about pushing some kind of workout or chasing the perfect body. We're going to talk about how exercise is the single best habit that will help you be healthy, that will help you feel great as you age, that will help you have a longer life. It's going to help you effectively beat disease. Exercise is how you create the energy so you can show up for yourself in your life. Exercise helps you become more focused at work. Exercise is going to help you be more connected with yourself and others. Every expert, I'm talking every single one, even the psychologists say the same thing. Exercise, it's not optional. You're designed to move. That's it.
I love her. She talks about using you people in my class know you have more energy after class than before, and you feel better after class. So she talks about having more energy, showing up in a better state, making better decisions, all can be enhanced by doing exercise. And the one thing that she said, which is so important, make it a habit. So consistency is really, really important. I strongly believe you should do weight training 3 days a week. If you want to do other activities, sports, the other days a week, great. And then throw some cardio in. So a lot of people say, well, I don't belong to a gym. Fine. Go for a walk. But here's how you want to increase your cardio while you walk. Go out there and walk for 5 minutes or so and get nice and warmed up. And then do a sprint. If you can't run, that's okay. Walk as fast as you can for 30 seconds. Get your heart rate up and then slow it down. Maybe you start out with doing that every 3 minutes, and then you speed up and go super fast. You're going to increase the benefit of that cardio workout by like 10 times than just going out for a walk. Then do it every 2 minutes, and then do it every 1 minute. Just get that 30-second burst in there of a sprint. Bring your heart rate up, increase your metabolism, tons of benefits from doing that, even through a walk. And one of the 2 most important things, I think, for exercise is resistance training. And that's why we created 50 Shades of Gray's functional fitness class. And then the cardio. And one of the things that Mel said in her previous videos was, she said, okay, that all sounds great. Okay, you got me. I understand. Exercise is important, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, and I'm intimidated by going to the gym. I go to the gym, and I think big guys with big, thick necks with veins popping out all over. Well, yeah, and a lot of women are intimidated. That's why we created 50 Shades of Gray's Functional Fitness, because it's 3 days a week. You can do it with me. You can do it later. It's all recorded. And someone has figured out your workout and your exercise for the day, and you're done. It's always different. We've started this in 2012, never taught the same class twice, so your body will be shocked. Your body will be never accommodate. So you will do something different all the time, and at the end, we always stretch, because that's another thing, people don't stretch enough. So a lot of the comments from our class is, wow, it's what I really like is I never know what you're going to do. So it's always a surprise, and it's always different, and it goes by really fast, and I always feel better after. So if you don't know what to do, you can look us up on ourjointeffort.com, and you can look at our exercise classes. But I think that you have to find something that you like to do. It's fun. Have a buddy join you. Do it with you. Do it in the comfort of your own home. The other thing that's great is the commute. Grab your coffee, go in your exercise room, and get started. Minimal equipment, a few bands, a few weights, a mat, and you're good to go. So find something you can do that you like and that someone will guide you through. We watch everybody, make sure that your form's really good. And so you know what to do in a protective and healthy way. That's effective. And you don't have to spend more than an hour working out, and nor should you. So those are the keys. If you don't know what to do, happy to help you. If you have questions about that, put it in the comments of the podcast, and I'll get back to you about it. And try out first class for free on me. That would be a good idea. Let's hear from, this is a little weird. This is called Neuro Tweak. And I'll give you a whole nother reason to exercise.
Most people don't know this, but there's a brain structure called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. But what's interesting about this brain area is there are now a lot of data in humans showing that when people do something they don't want to do, like add 3 hours of exercise per day or per week, or when people who are trying to diet and lose weight resist eating something.
Right.
When people do anything that they, and this is the important part, that they don't want to do.
Right.
It's not about adding more work, it's about adding more work that you don't want to do.
Yes.
This brain area gets bigger.
Yep.
Now, here's what's especially interesting about this brain area to me. And by the way, I'm only learning this recently because it's new data, but there's a lot of it. The anterior mid-cingulate cortex is smaller in obese people. It gets bigger when they diet. It's larger in athletes. It's especially large or grows larger in people that see themselves as challenged and overcome some challenge.
Right.
And in people that live a very long time. This area keeps its size. In many ways, scientists are starting to think of the anterior mid-cingulate cortex not just as one of the seats of willpower,
Right.
but perhaps actually the seat of the will to live.
Now we're talking.
Okay, who doesn't want a bigger brain? I mean, come on. I do. That's why I take these classes 3 days a week. But talk about growing your brain. We've all heard this. What do we use? 10% of our brain? Well, maybe this would help us use a little bit more of our brain. And I really like what he said about doing something that you haven't done or stretches you in some way. And it was the same when we interviewed, if you haven't seen Laval St. Germain's podcast, the only Canadian ever to climb Mount Everest without supplemental oxygen. And my first question to him was, why? But at the end of the podcast, I said, well, is there one thing you would tell our audience, give a recommendation? He said, I would tell everybody to get uncomfortable. Do something that stretches you in a way that you've never done before. Not only will it increase your brain health, but he said the success is so much sweeter when you do that. So do something uncomfortable. I think it's exactly what he's saying. Maybe you don't think you can sprint, but you do it and you go, wow, I can do that. Or you don't think you can go on that hike. Maybe you haven't been able to do it before. Or we had someone in class one time that was very weak in her core, and we were doing a specific ab exercise, and she couldn't do one, not one. She goes, I'm never going to be able to do this. In about a month, she was cranking out about 15 of them. So yes, you can get yourself uncomfortable, push yourself a little bit more, increase your strength, and increase your brain function. Next, we're going to hear about this interesting study and information about, and it might surprise you because they're going to hear about the risk factors from Dr. Attia again, and what the greatest risk factor is in avoiding disease and living a long, healthy life. And I think you're going to be very surprised. I was.
Two metrics that are most significantly associated with longevity. So if we were to stack up every possible known risk factor, smoking, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, coronary artery disease, end-stage kidney disease, whatever, and we were to talk about how much of a hazard ratio do these bring to you in terms of all-cause mortality, they're quite big. Hypertension is about a 20%, type 2 diabetes is about a 30% increase in mortality, smoking is 50% increase. Being weak relative to being strong is about 250%.
Come on. 250% is the highest risk factor, weakness. And there's all kinds of reasons and studies and so forth. But if you think being overweight and smoking and drinking and having a poor diet is going to set you up to be in a disease state, being weak is worse. It's the worst. And so I think we all know that. I mean, when we're stronger and we're more flexible, we feel better. We move better with greater ease. We can perform our activities and our sports much easier. So I was profoundly surprised at that. So it gives us another reason to get stronger. And I think we have one more. We're going to talk a little bit about exercise. And also, I talk about this a lot in my class, protein, why it's important, and how much do we need? Because a lot of people just don't know. Let's find out.
There is nobody that should be consuming less than 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram per day. What happens as we start to increase that from 1.2 to 1.6?
Great question. And this is, again, is where I turn to the experts like Stu Phillips. In fact, he did a really great meta-analysis looking at about 49 different studies in adults that were undergoing, these are controlled trials, resistance training alone or resistance training plus supplemental protein. And the supplemental protein went up to 1.6. Well, actually, it went up above that. But what was really found in that study was that even going from like 1.2 grams per kilogram body weight per day, obviously, to 1.6 grams per kilogram body weight, people gained about 27% more lean body mass and 10% more muscle strength compared to just training alone. Same training, just adding the protein, right?
So just training alone is not good enough. And I tell my people in my class and my patients, especially women, when you first get up in the morning, within 30 minutes, you have to eat, I recommend 25 to 30 grams of protein. So my favorite protein is J-Rob, right here. He is one of the very first ones that created protein powder. It's clean. There's no junk in it. Tastes phenomenal. And he very, very kindly has offered people listen to my podcast and people in my class and people that interact with us on our website, newsletters, etc., 20% off the protein powder. We'll put a link to his site, but you can go to jrob.com. And if you put in this code to get your protein at 20% off, then I thought that was very nice of him, and you'll be getting a great protein. That's the only one I use, and it's got 25 grams of protein in one scoop. So I'm not particularly hungry in the morning, but sometimes I'll put it in my non-dairy yogurt with some blueberries, and also sometimes if I'm really not hungry, I just put it in my coffee. So right away you get that. Then I tell my team, right after you work out, right after class, you have to eat a protein meal within ideally 45 minutes, longest an hour. So if you don't, again, some people aren't hungry after they work out. I'm not particularly. So I make a smoothie. So you're not eating food, but you're having something nutritional put back in your body. The protein will help rebuild the muscles you've broken down in order to strengthen them. And I put protein powder in there. So the protein it's got to be the resistance training and the protein together to maximize the benefit of what you want to do. And we heard all this, 1.6 kilograms per body. If you don't want to do the math, which I don't, just try and get 100 grams of protein in a day if you're active. You can be a little less than that if you're not active, but we want you guys to be more active. So let's get more active. So I would say 100, like 20, 25, 30 grams, or in the morning, and again in the afternoon, and then again in the evening. Up at your middle meal of the day would be ideal, but get around 100 grams. I've talked to people who, eggs, I don't know, what does one egg have, 6 grams, 5 to 6 or something? You really have to eat more than that. So I eat an egg or 2. Well, that's not enough. So look at your protein source and look at what's in it. Make sure there's no junk in it. And also look at the amount of grams you're getting per scoop and make sure that's 25 to 30 or so, and it's nice and clean. So those are my best that I've come across now, recommendations for why you exercise. What are all the benefits, the musculoskeletal benefits, the metabolic benefits, the brain benefits, and how important it is to do exercise consistently. And you will know that and realize that if you are consistent, then it's not going to be that hard. Your body's going to crave it. Like if I remember when I worked at the hospital, my first couple of years, we ran this big rehab clinic, and we had about 30 therapists. It was very big, and I would have my office was glass and looked out into the gym so I could see what's going on. And every day, about 3 o'clock, it should have been packed with patients and therapists, it was dead empty. And I was like, where is everyone? Well, they get kind of a lull after lunch, so everybody goes to the gift shop in the hospital and gets the candy bar at 3 o'clock. So every day, your body's going to crave a candy bar at 3 o'clock. But if you get up and work out first thing in the morning, which is when you should for more calorie burn, then your body's going to crave that every morning. So I have friends in class that admittedly hate to exercise, but they look forward to coming to class because it's a habit, they're consistent, they feel better, and it's not so hard anymore. Once you do it enough and build up your muscles, build your flexibility, it's not going to be as challenging. And since we mix it up all the time between bands and dumbbells and yogas and balance pads and single leg, your body will look forward to the challenge and raise the bar from the challenge. So these are all the benefits that I have found of late to exercise. I want to encourage you to find something you like to do. Get out there 5-6 days a week for sure. Do some exercise. Good for your metabolic health, your joints, your muscles, stronger bones, and your brain. And so thank you for joining. We'll be back next week for a whole new podcast. And every few weeks or so, I'm going to find some experts like this, I'll gather it all together for you, condense it, and talk about the benefits of it so you don't have to go searching. So we'll pick different topics every time, and we'll bring you the latest and best information for you to enhance the quality of your lives. Until then, take care.
Before you head out, I'd love your help. When you like, when you share, when you subscribe, it's not just a click, it's a gift. Every tap helps this message reach someone who may be sitting in pain, wondering if they'll ever move without limits again. So go ahead, hit that button now, and let's keep moving together.